So welcome to Unit 3, Developing Products and Services. So these are the different outcomes from this chapter. We will be first defining what's product design and product development process. We will also discuss about the reasons for developing new products and services. And we will be discussing about the role of operations management in the various dimensions of product and service design. We will be introducing the different phases involved in a product and service design and how they are related to the functional areas of the company. We will also be discussing about different approaches that can be practiced for improving the product and service designs. So to start with, the first thing to remember is the current products which we see were once new products. The current products will one day be replaced by new products. Companies either play by this law of market or disappear. What it means is if you want to survive in the market, you need to realize that the products which you are selling today will not stay in the market forever. You need to come up with newer products or services if you want to stay in the market. Else, you will get kicked out from the market. So to start with, the first thing is to define what is the meaning of product design and product development process. So product design typically refers to understanding first the needs of the end user. And so it starts from this. We want to design certain features or characteristics on a product, and the characteristics should be based on the need of the customer. So always remember, in any product design design or development stages, the first step is to look for your customer, understand what your customer is looking for. Based on the need of the customer, come up with a new product or a service. So this concept can be applied for a big company which is trying to come up with new product, or it can even be applied for a startup in case you're planning to set up a new business of your own. It's always important to realize that the first starting point is knowing who is your potential customer and understand what the customer is looking for. If you are coming up with a product or a service which is not relevant to the customer, your targeted customer, the chances are very high that it won't be successful in the market. So a product design stage is very, very important. Now, once you design the thing, there are certain steps which need to be practiced for developing that product. So that's referred to as CPDPL. In this course, specifically in this chapter, we will be using the concept of CPDPL throughout this unit. So remember this acronym CPDPL. So C stands for the concept planning, concept. P stands for the planning phase. D stands for the design and development phase. The next P stands for the commercial preparation, and L stands for the launch. So we discussed a lot on this in this chapter, but just to give you an insight on how this thing looks like. So think of a new product which you're trying to launch. The first thing is you need to understand your customer and look for your customer and understand what your customer is looking for. Based on that, you will come up with some idea or concept. So the concept refers to the concept here. refers to the ideation stage. So it's basically the ideation stage. And based on the idea which you have come up with, you need to plan how this idea can be converted to a product. So the second stage is on planning. Now you have planned, thought of a process which you could utilize to convert this idea or concept into a product. So the next step is basically designing and developing that product. So now that I have a new product in my hand, the next step is to make sure that your customer or your potential customer knows that this product is available. So you need to do the necessary marketing, sales, and different things, advertisements, different things which you will be doing, which is referred to as the commercial preparation. So it's the stage before you really launch the product. You try to educate your customers that there is a product available with you which will solve some of the issues which the customers are facing. So that's the commercial preparation phase, and finally you launch the product. So this is the key concept, the 5-step process which will involve in any new product development. And always remember that when you try to, if you are working in a company which is an established company, always remember that the new product is not developed by a single person or a department. It is almost always a cross-functional effort. Let's see what it means in the subsequent slides. So in this CPDPL stage, so this graph represents how the startups typically grow. So I'm pretty sure that most of you would have or will be having some thoughts while you are doing this course, during your study at Conestoga. There will be a chance, there is a high probability that you will be thinking of developing something once you finish your course. So there are so many people who will be having this idea. So that's what, if you see here, the red graph represents here at the beginning stage, there are lots of people who will be having concepts or ideas which will solve the issues of the customer. But how many people convert from that stage to the next level, take the plunge to move from an idea to a initial product? The planning phase will be very, very less. So as you see, assume that there are 100 students who have some concepts at the beginning of the course. As time progresses, let's say after 3 years of time, you will be seeing that only say 2 or 3 groups will be launching their product. So that's what the survival rate of idea typically represents. The idea is generally there at the concept stage. The reason being, the dollars that if you look at the green colored graph here, the dollar that you need to spend on having an idea is really nothing. So, but when you are trying to move across the stages, for instance, if I want to commercially prepare, I want to do the marketing, I want to do the advertisement and developing the product, I need to spend money on my idea. So that's what this green colored graph is typically representing. Now, if you click on this, there are some cool links which are there. I'm not going through all the things here, but please try to look at it. I want to show, so it's always important for me to show what is a bad design than a good design. It's always possible, interesting to know how a design should not be made, and that helps you understand, okay, this is very important when I think of coming up with a new product for my company. So that's what the next slide is representing. So let's look at the next slide. So check out the poor designs. There are many things available here for examples of bad design. I just want to show a few of them which we normally see in our day-to-day life. So one of the examples shown here is, let me just make it bigger. Okay, so take your driving license. If you have a driving license, take it out and check how many numbers are written in the driving license. You will be seeing that there are lots of numbers mentioned. So this is another example of a, let's see, for your automobile, the certificate of title. If you look at this document here, there are so many things mentioned here. So the question is, imagine that you are on the telephone with someone at the Department of Motor Vehicles and you have been asked to tell the automobile title number. You see there are lots of numbers. The first thing which you try to look at this is, okay, 599. Okay, clearly it is not a title number. So then you go and check for, oh, where's my number? Oh yeah, there's over here. So this is one of the examples of a bad design. There may be a reason for including so many numbers in this sheet, but think how it can be utilized, whether it is creating confusion to the user. So this is a good example of a bad design. Let me show another example. So which is another common thing which you will be encountering in your day-to-day life. For example, this one. You go to a gas station and you're just inside, you're driving, you're trying to pull out the knob. So there's an option that if you see, like for opening the gas, for filling the gas, there are two things which are present next to each other. One is for opening the trunk lid, the other is for your this. So there's a high probability, it's almost always in my car, in my Nissan, it's kept below. I can really not see unless I just look like this. I won't be able to see what's there. I will be just pulling out one of these and then realize, oh, I opened the wrong one. I popped the trunk lid by mistake. So this is another good example of a bad design. So always remember, why should the customer have this confusion when he or she is driving the car and trying to go for filling the gas? Remember this thing. So the gas cap and trunk lid are almost always next to each other. This is a bit confusing thing. So this is another example of a bad design. Going forward, so the next question is, why do companies come up with new products and services? Always remember this. So it gives the companies a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So what it means is, if you look at companies which are coming up with newer products, think of Apple as an example. They have a mobile phone, but iPhone, they always try to come up with new variants of it. So if Apple is not coming up with these changes, like say once in 2 years or once in a few months, the chances are really high that the company will no longer be existing. The same is the case with Microsoft or any company which you can think of which is successful will always be having these new products coming up in the market. The focus is to establish the competitive advantage. The second reason for this is to provide benefits to the firm. What it means is, if there is a new product or service which is being launched, there's a high probability that most of us will be willing to experiment with that new product. So it creates a better benefits. For instance, it can make better revenues, it can add value to the firm. This is the second reason. The third reason why companies normally come up with new products and services is to exploit the existing capabilities. What it means is, think of Tim Hortons as an example. During the Halloween time, you get this special type of muffins made of pumpkin, the special type of coffee made of pumpkin latte. You will be getting it. It's because they already have the capability to make a muffin. They have the capability to make coffee. So, and they want to utilize the same capability, the same coffee making machine to create new products and service. By creating this, more people will purchase the new product, and that's another reason for it. The fourth thing is, by creating new products, you always try to block your competitors. So having multiple number of products and you keep on innovating in your business, the chances are high that there are not many competitors which who will be like say competing for the same product range which you are trying to sell. So I'm not reading out everything here. So competitive advantage, we have studied in the previous unit about the three different strategies. They are the differentiation, low cost leadership, and response strategy. So think of examples. You can find multiple examples in the textbook which will help you to see how these companies are coming up with new products. So it, be it a response, a company which follows the response as a strategy will also be coming up with new products. So one of the examples is when Amazon launched their business. They were not having this Amazon Prime membership option, but they launched this membership because if you have this membership thing, you will be able to get the material within a day, and so on. The internal benefits which we discussed, it will help to have lesser cost and lesser waste and better revenues. And using exploiting the strengths and competencies, what it means is, so I said the example of Tim Hortons. So you have the same machines, say John Deere as an example, they are having the machineries to make farm equipments. With the same set of machinery, why can't I make say another set of machineries or lawn equipments which can be sold to the customers? Now, the fourth thing is to block out the competitors. So one of the best examples which you can think of, it's in Microsoft. So Microsoft started the business. So the example given here is Netscape Explorer, but the better or the more relevant example for Microsoft today is Microsoft started selling initially the Windows as an operating system. Then they started to come up with this MS Office thing. Now, in the last few years, say 3-4 years, we have been seeing Office 365. They have the cloud, which is the OneDrive. They have now the option for this video conference, Microsoft Teams, and so on. So that means if I just have only say Office 365 in my computer, I will be able to access all the different aspects of it. So this way, by bundling the products, so the keyword for this is called as the bundling process. In this way, Microsoft is able to prevent the competitors because it's offering lots of things which you might be needing. So that's another reason for coming up with new products and services. Now, the next key concept when you try to come up with a new product or service is this. So think of an artist who is making a nice painting. Now, when an artist makes a painting, the focus is on creativity. It's not really on creating the same painting again and again. The focus is there on just creativity. But in a company, the focus is on creating the same new product again and again. So the product which you are making, which you are developing, should be having repeatability. So what it means is the design which you are making is otherwise called as robust design. What it means is the same product can be made again and again. So that's the meaning of repeatability. So this is a very important, so these 6 points mentioned here will be important for your, I'm sure you might be seeing in quizzes or in your midterm examination on each of these aspects. So repeatability is making the same product again and again. Now the next example is called as testability. Testability means if I make a product, I should be able to test whether the product is good or bad. So testability refers to the ability to check whether it is good, G, versus B. So I can decide whether the product is good or a bad product. I should be having some mechanism or method to check whether the product is good or bad. That's what testability refers to. The third thing is called as a serviceability. So serviceability represents, let's say you purchase a laptop. If you find there is some issue, it should be possible to repair that particular laptop rather than just buying it and throwing it in the garbage. So serviceability refers to the ability to service or repair that particular equipment and make it running again. Now, the other three things are easier. Product volumes. So it depends on the type of company for which you're working. If you're working for, say, Tim Hortons, if you're making a coffee, the new type of coffee, and the same, so the focus of Tim Hortons is on the response strategy. That means the new type of coffee which you develop should be produced in huge volumes. It shouldn't be that I create one coffee and then the next coffee can be made after that, say, 30 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me. So for Tim Hortons or any company, let's say if it's a bulk manufacturer, I'm making chips as Lay's as an example. Say I make chips, I should be able to make huge volumes of products. So product volume is very important in a new product and service design. Same is the case with product cost. Cost should not be so high. The cost should be within a certain thing which the customer is willing to pay. So I made a coffee which is really nice. I can make it in huge volume, but each coffee is worth, say, $50, then no one is going to purchase it. So the cost is another key ingredient in the design and development stage of a new product. Same is the example with matching the design with existing capabilities. So if I have to have a coffee machine, I should be coming up with new coffees. I should try to exploit the existing capabilities that I have. So this is what is mentioned here. I'm not reading out these things again. So what's written here is the repeatability stage, creating the same product again and again. Testability is ability to test that particular thing. It should be an inexpensive method to test whether the product which you made is good or bad. Serviceability is what we discussed, is about the repair. It should be easy to repair that particular equipment. And the production volumes, as per the need of the company, the volumes should be able to match them. So the example which I said is, if I try to create, say, new coffee, and if I'm not able to make large number of new coffees, it doesn't make sense for Tim Hortons to have such a product in their portfolio. The same is the case with the product cost. The cost should be within a certain number which the final customer is able to pay. So it speaks about two different types of cost. So I'm not discussing much. The obvious cost means it is the direct cost and indirect cost, which I can say. So direct cost is basically, think of a coffee as an example. So direct cost would be the cost associated with having the coffee cup, having the coffee beans, milk, and so on. Indirect cost is not directly possible for me to measure. For example, if I have the lighting, so I have the kitchen, I have the money spent on rent, the money spent on having the power or the different lighting systems in my place. So I cannot really attribute that to this single coffee. So that's called as a hidden cost. So what is said here is, if there are multiple parts involved in a product, so it might become really not very easy to understand how each of these things is affecting the final price of the product. Now, not reading much on this, it's about the engineering aspect of it. So think of an automobile that has been newly launched in the market. So if we want to make any small change in that particular thing, you shouldn't just make a change because you have already sold, say, hundreds of cars in the market. So if you're trying to make a change, make sure that the new product or the new spare part which you are trying to make for this product is available all across your distribution centers. Otherwise, if you're trying to just make a change and have already sold products in the market, it can create confusion. You need to document all the necessary things. So this is all about the engineering aspects of it. So one of the things which we spoke about is matching with existing capabilities. So I said, like, Tim Hortons, when it tries to come up with a new product, it will always try to look for, say, different type of coffee or a different type of muffin. It matches to the portfolio. So the new product is always going to allow a manufacturer to use the existing parts or the facilities to create the new ones than buying a new machine for this product. So it's possible that you buy a new machine and make a new product for your company, but almost always you try to exploit the existing capabilities. Now, also understand that the product which you make, there should be an opportunity for you to have some flexibility in the product. What it means is, think of chips as an example. When you try to come up with chips, there are different packet sizes which are available: small, big, say medium, and so on. Whether it is possible to add new features. Is one example. Is the size in itself is a package is an example of a new feature. Can I upgrade it? Can I change it? So these are some of the things which you should remember. So what it means is, if you're trying to come up with a product which demands lots of investment from your company, chances are high that the company may not be interested in coming up with such a product. So the same thing, we are coming back to this on the concept development to the launch phase. So let's think of it. So all these. So let's say that if the CEO of a company is trying to tell that, okay, let's think of this example. So Tim Hortons CEO is telling that, okay, each employee should come up with an idea for a new product. So there is a high chance that there will be lots of ideas. But when you try to understand the feasibility of the idea as it moves from one stage to the other, from concept to the planning phase to the design phase, and finally going to the launch, not many ideas really survive. So this is your CPDPL. This is something which we already discussed. So all the things which we are discussing in this chapter are based on the framework of CPDPL. Remember this framework. So going forward, now how does the design and development process work? So always remember that in any organization, it is not a single person or a single department that's involved in the design and development of a new product. It's always a cross-functional activity. So in this particular table, which is from your textbook, it shows how each of the C, P, D, P, L, what's the role of each of these departments. Let's think of, say, engineering as an example. The role of engineering in the concept phase is to propose new technologies, to come up with new ideas. But example of marketing would be different too. So for marketing, how does marketing come up with new concepts? Marketing will be performing meetings, trying to get feedback from the customers, provide market-based input, and will be suggesting inputs. Now, the role of operations and supply chain in the concept development stage is to look for new suppliers. So if I want to come up with a new product, I will be connecting with the different suppliers, look for newer technologies, and so on. So that's what is shown here. So the same thing is being shown here. The role of operations and supply chain in CPDPL stage. Not reading out everything. You can read out at your convenience, but understand always, the key thing to understand is, in a new product development, it's always cross-functional. There is a role for engineering, there is a role for marketing, there is a role for operations and supply chain. So this is what we discussed already, not in that again. So it's the concept development phase is the phase where it's the first phase, right? It's the first phase of a product development where they look for new ideas and trying to improve upon the existing products. Now the planning phase is how do I convert. The second phase is wherein the company tries to look for the feasibility. How do I convert the ideas into some product or service? That's a feasibility checking is happening in the planning phase. Now the design and development is to invest on this particular thing. So there were 100 ideas, concepts at the beginning, and after the planning phase, say it has reduced to say 5 different ideas, and company decides to spend money on these 5 ideas and trying to see how they can become successful. So the commercial preparation stage is a 4th stage wherein the focus is heavily on investment heavily on the operations and supply chain, as well as on the different marketing aspects, like I said about advertising and telling the potential customers that you are coming up with a new product or service. Launch is the final step in which you are going and launching your final product. So these are the 5 things which we have already discussed, CPDPL. Now, a few more points in this particular chapter, which will be very useful for you, will be useful in the midterm, is this, after CPDPL is, when you try to develop a product, there are 2 ways in which it can be developed. One method is called as the sequential development, and the second method is called as a concurrent engineering. Let's try to see what each of this look like. So sequential development means, let's say you divide the process, you divide the idea, a product or an idea, into say 5 or 6 different steps, and only after each step gets finished you go to the next stage. So it's like step by step approach is referred to as the sequential development, and concurrent engineering refers to multiple things being done at the same time. The focus of concurrent engineering is to reduce the total development time. So let me show how it looks like in the next slide. So this is an example of a sequential development. You have say 5 or 6 different stages in it, and for going to, so let's say this is your stage 1, this is the stage 2, and this is stage 3, and so on. So if you want to go to stage 2, first you have to make sure that all the things in stage 1 is complete, and there's a clear handoff to the next phase, and only when all the things in 1 gets complete you go to the next stage. So this is in general really time consuming, but this is also practiced in some cases if it is a very so sequential development is normally used in situations which are very important from a safety perspective. If you're trying to come up or design a new nuclear reactor which can have a potential impact on the lives of so many people, you might always like to go ahead with a sequential development. The same is the case with, say, if you're trying to create a product which can affect the safety of the human being. So normally you go for this, even if the development time is higher, but generally what is practiced is what's called as the concurrent engineering. And concurrent engineering is the CPDPL, you can see here. There's a good overlapping from one stage to the other. As a result, even before your idea gets fully fine-tuned, you will be starting the planning phase. Even before you complete the planning phase, you go to the design phase, and so on. As a result, if you can see here, it will help to reduce the development time. So the keyword here is sequential development and concurrent engineering. Now this is something which we already discussed, the role of the different parts of the organization in coming up with new product and service. So not reading it again. Now, the role played by designers. So the role played by designers, supply chain and all. There is another keyword which is coming up here. So we said The role of supply chain and operations management in new product development is to look for new suppliers who can provide services to you. Because you're trying to develop a new product, then you need to have a new bunch of suppliers or new set of products which will be processed in your company. So this is an important thing here. The keyword is called as a gray box design and a black box design. So let's say that if you're an operations or a purchasing manager, and if your supplier is involved in this is important, if your supplier works with you jointly to design the product, if the focus is, if there's a good sense of loyalty of the supplier to your company, you will be sharing the details of the product which you are trying to develop. And if it is done in a hybrid way with a good level of collaboration, it's called as a gray box design. Gray box design is wherein the supplier is working with you, the customer, to jointly design the product. But another approach is if you're not very, like, if you don't want to share your information, all the information about the new product to your supplier, you might just tell them that, okay, I need these sort of products. So highest level of supplier participation where they are there. But a situation in which they are supplied with general requirements and they are told that you need to just give me this product. So in a black box design, you are not really telling anything to the supplier that you are creating a new product. It's more of a transactional type of relationship, whereas in a gray box design, it is far more collaborative approach. So it depends on the level of relationship which you have with your supplier. That's what mostly decides which type of design which you will be going ahead with. Now, the next keyword, so I'm pretty sure that the first set of keywords which we have seen is the sequential development and the concurrent engineering. The second set of keywords which we have just now see is a gray box design and a black box design. The third thing which is very important is called as the concept of standardization and modularity. So think of an example. So standardization is almost always, you will be seeing it everywhere. So what it means is you try to buy a car, and if let's think of Nissan as an example. If Nissan is deciding that for any type of SUVs which you are trying to build, if you are planning to use the same type of 16-inch wheel for all the different models which you are making, all the models of SUV which you are making, that's called as standardization. I use the same product. This helps in making the design process easier than having, say, 15-inch, 14-inch, 13-inch, so on. I will be using the same standard product throughout, which is almost always used. Think of your computer or think of your mobile phone, the battery. So think of a mobile phone, the battery which is being used inside your mobile phone will be standard. It will not be really like changed as per the design which you are changing. The thing is, you will try to use the same, and the same with the memory chip, the same with the processor in your computer, graphics card, and so on. You will be planning to use standardized products. So that's the meaning of standardization. The next key thing is on modularity. So what it means is, again, the example is that of a computer. So we have seen the video of how mass customization is practiced by Dell. So modularity refers to making the items in modules based on the function. So what it means is, think of the example of your computer. In a computer, you have different parts inside the computer. Say you have a RAM, you have your graphics card, you have the other things involved inside the computer, your processor, and so on. And all these things are modules. If something is not working, it's always easy to take out that material and put another new one than trying to repair. Say if something is not working in your computer, let's say your processor, your graphics card is not working, the chances are high that if you give to a shop, what the only thing which they will be doing is they will be trying to replace that graphics card with another one than trying to repair the graphics card. The reason is it's in the form of a module, and it helps to repair the things easily and give the service to the customer faster. So this is another set of keywords: standardization and modularity. Now we are towards the end of this chapter. So if I want to improve, instead of, say, for instance, if I want to have some set of products, let's say in Tim Hortons example, I have already coffee, I have a muffin. If I want to come up with ideas for improving my product and services, in general, there are two different methods which are being practiced. First method is called as a target costing method, and the second method is called as a value analysis method. What it means is, in target costing, I always set my target. I say that the coffee which I'm gonna create, whatever I want to do, I will not be able to sell this product above, say, $2. So $2 is the cap that is set for my coffee, and will tell my design team, you can come up with any design, but it can't be, I won't be able to sell this product beyond $2 per cup. So that's the target costing example. The value analysis, so that's, I guess it's there in the next slide. So value, this is very important. So this is what we just said about the target costing. Target costing is a process of designing a product to meet a specific cost objective. So setting the planned selling price and then trying to realize, okay, I cannot sell it for more than $2, and then I try to subtract my profit. I want to make, say, 20% profit on it. That means $1.60 is all what I have to, my total cost should not be more than $1.6, so that I'll be able to sell it at $2. So that's what the target costing is all about. But value analysis is slightly different. Think of this pen as an example. If I want to create a new pen, there are two ways of looking at this particular thing. I try to look at the function. My function is, let's say I am able to write it, I am able to draw the things on a paper. Now, if I want to increase the value of this particular pen, assume that I bought this pen for $1. One way of increasing the value for me is, if this pen is able to perform something beyond than just writing, if I'm able to do something, if I'm able to do something beyond than just writing and drawing the things, if it can give me more functionalities to it, for the same price, for the same $1, if I get some more features added to this, I think I will always believe that it's a better functionality. Or the other way is, the same pen, now I'm buying at $1, if I can get the same pen at, say, 80 cents, again I feel that there is a more value in it. So this is the second way of dealing with it, value analysis. So there is some example on showing how, from your textbook, how things have been changed from, say, $3.50, 3.5 to $2, and so on. So with this, we have finished our chapter on developing products and services. We discussed about the product design and development stages. So we discussed about CPDPL. We discussed the reasons for developing new products and services. We also saw how the different functional areas are actually helping in the product development. It's a cross-functional approach. We also discussed about how to improve the product design. We saw some of the keywords like sequential design and concurrent engineering. We discussed about standardization and modularity and so on. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.